Hello, everybody. So it is Wednesday, August 30th. Happy hump day. I wanted to talk quickly about metabolic syndrome. So, for those of you that don't know, metabolic syndrome is a set of criteria. There are five of them. And if you have any of the three, you can be diagnosed with metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome is basically something we use in healthcare to determine somebody's risk factors of further complications. So if you have metabolic syndrome, you're at a higher risk of heart disease, of stroke, of cancer, of type 2 diabetes, and all of the complications thereof. So the good thing is that metabolic syndrome is very easy to check on your own. You don't even need your doctor for three of them. And then the other one, you just need your doctor to order a lipid test, or you can even order it online yourself by using a website such as ownyourlabs.com. You can get it on there for like, I think it's like $10 or something. It's pretty cheap. Anyways, so the five criteria are waist circumference, blood pressure, blood glucose, HDL cholesterol, and triglycerides. So it's those five. So if three of those five are out of whack, then you can be diagnosed with metabolic syndrome. However, if any one of them is out of whack, then that means you do have something going on and you're on your way to further complications. So let's quickly go over the different criteria. Waist circumference, uh, in the US, they like it to be under 35 inches for women, under 40 inches for men. I actually don't like those measures because there's so many different body types. Some people are taller and some people are shorter. The better measure is actually waist to height ratio. So if you measure your waist and then you measure your height in inches, the ratio should be under zero point 0.5. That's what you want, and that's where your ideal ratio is. That measure in particular is looking at your intra-abdominal fat, the fat that you carry in and around your organs that's under the muscle tissue, not over the top of it. So that fat has been shown to be connected to heart disease, diabetes, all the bad stuff. It's really inflammatory. It's bad for you, and it just looks bad. Nobody likes a big giant beer gut. So next, I want to talk about blood pressure. Now, in the US, the standard is 120 for your systolic pressure and 80 for your diastolic. You want your number to be averaging around that or below for each of those numbers. If it's higher, then you've met one of those criteria for, like pre-hypertension. In Europe, I think the standard is set a little bit higher, but in general, the studies show that the lower your blood pressure, the lower your risk of cardiovascular disease and its complications as well. Just make sure that you get a high quality blood pressure machine for your home. Pay a little bit extra. Make sure it has been clinically certified and it's FDA approved as well. Um, Even then, still bring it to your doctor's office or down to the CVS or Walgreens, wherever they have those blood pressure machines, and check it against those. It shouldn't be more than 5 to 10% off from the readings from the actual clinical machines. Really important that you have accurate blood pressure readings at home. Next, I want to talk about blood glucose. So, this is one of those things that I don't know why, but doctors have kind of a blind spot for it. No doctor ever recommends that you get a glucometer and check your blood sugar if you're not diabetic. I think that's dumb. You want to prevent diabetes. You don't want to get it and then try to figure it out after you have it. You want to prevent it, so you want to check to make sure you aren't having high or high-ish blood glucose readings. You want to catch it very, very early. So getting a glucometer and having one at home is actually really, really important. I think everybody should have one, and that it's not recommended seems kind of dumb to me. A doctor obviously recommends that you check your weight. They obviously recommend that if you are having, big beer gut abdominal fat, they go, hey, you should lose some of that. Um, they obviously suggest that you check your blood pressure at home, but for whatever reason, there's a blind spot on glucose. I have no idea why. Anyways, check your glucose at home. If you're over 8 hours fasted, your glucose should be under 100. If it's over that, then it might be a sign that you are having a little bit of insulin resistance, maybe a little bit of prediabetes. Get your A1C checked. It should be below 5.7%. 5.7% up to 6.4% is would be considered pre-diabetic. Mine actually sits in the pre-diabetic range. I sit about 5.8% on my A1C. It's been like that for years. I've been working on it lately, trying to troubleshoot it and see if I can get it down. And I'll make a video about that if I'm able to be successful with it. Um, but with your glucose, make sure you get a good glucometer. There's plenty online. They're not that expensive, 40, $50. You can get, I have the Contour Next One. It's Bluetooth connectable with your phone. They have an app that keeps track of it as well. So, checking your blood glucose in the morning, very, very important thing to do. Just be mindful that sometimes when you are just getting up, there's something called the dawn effect where your cortisol levels goes up and you have a little bit higher glucose at those times. So maybe wait just a little bit after you've gotten up and you've kind of started getting your day going, then check your glucose before you have breakfast. And that's a good time to check it. It should be below 100. Sometimes if it's like 102, 103, that could be a result of the dawn effect. But again, if you are finding that consistently, make sure you go your A1C checked as well. So the last thing to check would be a lipid panel. So your doctor will order this for you. You can go get it done. I think sometimes Walgreens does occasionally. You can order it through Quest or LabCorp, or I use ownyourlabs.com, wonderful website, discount labs. It's very easy to use. Um, but get your lipid panel checked and make sure you are 12 to 14 hours water only, no coffee, no tea, nothing else. And then no exercise during that fasted window as well, because sometimes exercise can throw your triglycerides off. So you want to make sure that you're well fasted for that blood draw. When you get the blood draw, it takes, depending on what lab you go to, it can take a day or so or maybe longer to come back. You want your HDL if you are female over 40, if you're male over 50. Triglycerides, the standard for that is under 140. Again, these are all milligrams per deciliter. I use US units. I do not get millimole. I try to, and have to use the conversion calculators a lot. But these are the numbers I understand because they're what I am accustomed to. Anyways, I think the standard for triglycerides is way too lenient. It should be under 100 rather than 140. And ideally, you want your ratio of triglycerides to HDL to be under 1.0. So that means your triglyceride number should be lower than your HDL number in milligrams per deciliter. So that indicates that you have really well functioning lipid metabolism. Usually you see that in people who are very healthy with their diet and exercise a lot. So my triglyceride to HDL ratio, for example, is 0.39 because my last HDL was 112. My triglycerides are 44. So again, very, very important thing to get checked out. And again, these are all so easy and simple to get done. The glucose, the blood pressure, the waist circumference, those can all be done at home. And the lipid panel is so easy to get done. You can just go do it this afternoon. It's very, very simple. So I'll finish up by saying so many people think that they are healthy when they are not. I see so many people come into the emergency department and they've just had a stroke or just had a heart attack or something's going on. And they look at the doctor and they go, "But I've always been so healthy." And I look at them, I go, "No, no, you ain't. I can tell. I can look at you and tell. And I can look at your chart here and can tell your numbers are terrible. You're not healthy. You've never been healthy. You haven't been healthy for decades. I can see going back in the chart." So, you know, so many people just don't pay any attention to these things. Their doctors don't pay any attention to them. They don't get any guidance. They just keep living their lives until something terrible happens. And they end up in a situation where the quality of their life is ruined, or worse, they're just dead. And their loved ones don't know what hit them. They had no idea it was coming. Because people just don't actually assess their own health. So that's why I want to empower you to actually start looking at how healthy you are truly. Be honest with yourself about it. Figure out how you feel that, that gut that you have is a problem. and it's going to become more of a problem if you don't deal with it. So with that, it's hump day, and I'm going to go to the gym. Bye.